All right, hello and welcome East Central community to another edition of Facebook and YouTube Live. My name is Brandon Oliver. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications here at East Central, and I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. And I already see by our account that a good number is already tuning in, so that's fantastic. But tonight we're going to be talking specifically about East Central High School and several updates coming your way, as it relates to East Central High School. I do want to remind people that even when we're done with the Facebook and YouTube Live, you can always go back to this link and watch it again. So if there is something that we talk about tonight that maybe you missed or you weren't really paying attention to or something like that, you can always go back to the link and watch it again at any time. So since we are talking East Central High School, you cannot talk East Central High School without the man himself, Principal Shane McKay. Principal McKay, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and had a chance to spend some time with your close family. And we're excited to be back and looking for a strong 3 weeks before we hit the Christmas holiday. So thank everybody for joining us tonight. We've got some important information to share with you.
And we have some guests. They'll be in the background, but we do have some guests. We have Jalen Hart, who's our top nurse here at East Central, and then we have Kat Slagle as well. Yes, from Community Labs. So they will be, in the background, Principal McKay, as you're going along. But first, I guess the first thing to talk about is what is the latest on COVID-19 testing at East Central High School?
Yes, sir. We've got several things on the agenda, and the first item is we started about 3 weeks ago testing students and staff. Of course, it's voluntary testing. It's highly encouraged. We started with a smaller subpopulation, students who participate in extracurriculars, and our entire staff, and we've really learned through the process, but it's a great opportunity for us to make sure that people feel safe when they're coming to work or they're coming to school. And what our job is really in working with community labs is to create the conditions to where we can stop the silent spreaders, and we're able to have early detection, especially those who are asymptomatic. And this has been something that Somerset ISD has been doing since they've returned back for face-to-face instruction or in-person learning, and working with them. We've learned a lot, and so we're excited. Over the last 3 weeks, we've had 708 participants in testing. I will say it's allowed us the opportunity. We have found 3 that were positive due to this testing, which gives us a 0.4% positivity rate, which is encouraging. But it also has allowed us to separate and notify those folks, and then it allows them to be safe even in their personal lives. So it does more than just keep us safe here at school, but it also helps others in our community and to keep our community safe. So we're excited to now say that we are able to open it up to every student who has returned for face-to-face instruction. So every student who is here, we are going to be offering the testing for free for them Monday mornings from 7:30 to 9:30, and it happens in our Gary Patterson Center for Performing Arts. And so all the students need to do is have the signed consent, which we'll talk about the process here in a minute. And you guys have access to that. I just sent it out. We'll go out about 6:30 tonight in an email to all of our parents in our community, as well as it's on access on our website, as well as deliver that by noon Friday to our nurses. So we're ready to go and have a ticket ready. But I know there'll be some questions, and I know that Kat and Miss Hart are on here as well to kind of provide some guidance in that direction. But it has been something that we feel is empowering. It's really eased the anxiety of our staff, and our students feel very comfortable. So it's been a great addition to our risk mitigation protocols by doing it. Again, I want to emphasize that it's encouraged, but it's not required. And we're really asking that our families consider, if you're allowing your child to come back to face-to-face instruction, to take advantage of this. I know my own daughter goes to school here, and she's done it every Monday. And again, it's for peace of mind for our family and and sometimes our extended family if she has to come in contact with them.
All right, so just to recap the beginning here. So any high school student, East Central High School student, can be tested if they want. Again, it's all volunteer, correct?
It is, yes, sir. The only condition is we are, if you have to be a in-person learner. So if you're here face to face, is the requirement.
Okay, and it's that other type of test. It's not the one that goes way up in the brain. It's just like on the outside of the nostril, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. It's super simple. You go in, you get your ticket, and then you get in line. It literally takes about 15 seconds. They call you up. They present you the Q-tip. You swab the inside of your nose for 5 seconds on one side. You swab for 5 seconds on the inside, the other nostril. You put it into their test tube. They seal it. They peel off the sticker, put it on there that it's yours. And then you get the results back by the end of the day, a lot of times, or by the next by that evening, and you'll be able to log on to see what your results are. And obviously, our district nurse is notified, and then she can begin, if we have to do that, to make contacts with the parents and or a staff member, and then what the next steps need to be. So it's been very positive. I've talked to the kids on Monday or Tuesday that we're going through when we did it on that day, and they were like, "It was super easy, Mr. McKay." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the point." And actually, it has a 95% accuracy rate, and so and I know Kat and Miss Hart will talk more about that, but I believe in it, and I think it's a great opportunity for our community and our students here at East Central to be safe.
I want to show. I know you said you're emailing out a letter in about roughly about 20 minutes, but this is the letter here, correct?
Yes, sir. They're not only will they get that if their email is on our file, what we have in our current system, they'll get that if they receive the parent link emails, they'll be getting this letter, as well as they also will receive a link to the consent form that they can fill out for their child and have them bring it tomorrow and drop it off at the nurse's station, or if the parent wants to bring it up and drop it off here at the office, that will give their kids the opportunity. I really want to emphasize that it's only if they're going to take advantage of it, because poor Miss Hart, she has to fill out tickets each week, and we just want to make sure that they're going to be taking advantage of it and actually coming and doing it. But they'll receive that in the consent form, as well as it is on our school website already. It's on one of the banners. So if you go to the East Central High School website, you click on the banner for COVID testing, the consent form is there for you to download in a PDF format, as well as the letter is on there, just kind of making you aware of what the testing is about.
And here in the letter, I found here are the next steps we will take as a school community, and it's outlined for them, in terms of signing the consent form, date, time, where, it's all right here, definitely in this paragraph right here. What are the next steps? And then I don't know if you want to talk about the consent form, but this is the consent form, correct?
Yes, sir. That's the one that we have to have signed by the parent or guardian, submit. Now, there was some questions when we originally installed, if my child is 18, can my child sign in? Absolutely. If they're 18, they can sign consent for themselves. So if the student is 18, they are allowed to sign if that's something they wish to do, is get tested, which we highly encourage.
All right. So if they're over 18, they can sign it.
Yes,
and again, this is completely voluntary. We are not forcing anybody to do it. And I know you've said that multiple times, and definitely, people that want to take advantage of it. And, a lot of times it's peace of mind,
Yep.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a great opportunity, for East Central High School students. So
yeah, something I'll mention is it's being paid for by just a generous donor, and the test is not free. I mean, it costs $37 a test if we were to be paying for it separately. So again, we're very thankful to that person who is paying for every single person who decides to take this testing. And I know that there's, the CEO of Community Labs, which I'm sure Kat will talk about, really believes that this is the way that we can open up schools. It's the way we can open up economies, is that if we can do testing like this, it allows everybody to know and feel safe with now it doesn't stop us from our risk mitigation protocols. We're still going to follow mask wearing, social distancing, hand sanitizing, washing, those types of things. But what it really does is it just adds another layer of security and another layer to our risk mitigation protocols.
All right. Do you want to talk about, obviously this goes hand in hand with face-to-face instruction. Do you want to provide an update on face-to-face instruction as it relates to testing?
Absolutely. We can do that, and then maybe we'll turn it over to Kat and Miss Hart to talk a little bit more about it. But really, this is tightly coupled with our drive to really have our students come back to school for in-person learning. I say that to say that currently we have just around 1,500 students who their families have elected to come back for face-to-face instruction, but we've never hit that mark. We've really been around the 800 to 1,000 range, and we know that the best way for our students to learn is to be here and in person, so they can receive the direct support from their teachers, and there's some immediacy in that. So we just want to encourage our families to, trust that your kids will come onto campus and follow the risk mitigation protocols. Know that our teachers do an amazing job of making sure that students are having to sanitize or clean their personal learning spaces when they enter, that they're making sure that they maintain their physical distancing, that they're wearing their mask in class. And we've put a lot of procedures and protocols in place to try to mitigate. But like anything else, it's still up to, self-discipline to follow that. There's a limited of us and there's a lot of them. So a lot of it is still our students being responsible and disciplined and doing the right things. And so we really hope to encourage that, but really we're wanting our students to be here. We want them back for face-to-face instruction. We know that it's going to help to close those gaps for our students, and many of them haven't had that type of instruction since before spring break. And we just know that right now it's a plea on our part that to really allow them to come back. We did several home visits on Monday, and several of the conversations I was having with parents, they felt reassured that they felt safe to allow their student to come back to school. And again, like I said, I have a child that's in our school system here at the high school, and I feel safe in the fact that, and knowing that she's here. We still have not had one case of student to student, staff to student, or student to staff spread. And once we become aware, we quickly notify and isolate, and all of the contact tracing has led us back to it's all been community spread, and which is indicative of that it's happened outside of the school setting. And what we've been able to do is through coordinated efforts with Metro Health and following our risk mitigation protocols very tightly, they have felt very confident that the risk of exposure to others has been very low, because we are being very disciplined in that process. And is it perfect all the time? No, and there is no system that ever is perfect, but we're working really, really hard to make sure that it's there, and we're teaching our kids about the whys behind it. So again, going back to the COVID testing, is an additional layer to our risk mitigation protocols to help our parents and families and our staff to feel safe letting their child come back to school.
And right now we'll take some questions from the chat room about COVID, but I want to bring in Miss Hart and Miss Slagle. Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining us. And so, Kat, do you want to tell us more about community labs for those that haven't seen it, or haven't seen it in the news or anything like that? Why don't you tell us about the community labs and the testing?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So Community Labs is a nonprofit, and we felt a need for asymptomatic spread. And so 50% of outbreaks that we are seeing is from asymptomatic carriers. And the reason why this is so important is one of our founders actually funded community labs, or co-funded community labs, because he fell terribly ill at the beginning of the pandemic from an asymptomatic carrier. And so we felt a need here in San Antonio, here in our community, that there is this outbreak that's out there, and we want to be able to help support our community with going back into face-to-face learning, specifically students and teachers, and allow that space to really be safe as possible during this pandemic. And so that's really our mission, is we are opening schools or reopening schools and helping them feel safe. We Community Labs, we're actually doing 79 schools around San Antonio, including East Central High School, as well as Cass STEM and Cass Lead. And so we are so thrilled to have the opportunity to really impact our community and make everyone feel a little bit safer during this pandemic. So that's just a little bit about us. And we're just so grateful to be partnering with such an amazing school. East Central, you guys have been absolutely amazing. Your students and your faculty are just so heartwarming, and we're just grateful to have the opportunity to partner with you guys.
All right. Well, I'll bring Principal McKay and Jalen back on. And we do have some questions in the chat room. Yvette Rosales asked, what estimated percentage of high school students are attending in person?
Yeah, that's a great question. We really roughly have been sitting about a third of our student body, if not less. I mean, it's been fluctuating between about 25% to about 30% of our student population has been here on a day-to-day basis. And when you couple that with 52 acres, it's amazing how you'll barely ever see a student even pass by during a 10-minute passing, just because when you space them out over that distance. But that's a great question. We've been about 25 to 30%.
And then Michelle asked, how long will the testing go on for?
I'm going to defer that to Kat and Jaylene, because I'm willing to say let's continue to do this until as long as we can.
I guess I'll take it. So the testing is going until the winter break right now. And so we are going to reevaluate afterwards, especially with the cases that are rising right now. We just want to make sure that we are staying safe out there as we are continuing to do the testing. So right now, I believe it's up until December 18th. Is that when you guys have your last day of school? So December 18th. And then there will be communication the moment that I am able to know when that end date of testing is. You guys will also be aware of that end date as well. But so far right now, it is December 18th as our last day, but hopefully it will continue in the spring.
Adrian asked, if I choose to send my son back in for in-person learning, how are the students being monitored before school, passing classes, and after school?
That's a great question. So we have administrators and safety monitors and staff out around the campus monitoring our students, giving them constant gentle reminders about make sure your mask is over your nose, make sure you're maintaining your distance, and make sure you use hand sanitizer when you enter. So our entire administrative team, our 2 safety monitors, and then we have about 6 other staff members that are spread out around the campus, monitoring from the cafeteria to all of our external spaces, from the time they get off the bus to from around the amphitheater, wrapped around the front of the school, over to the cafeteria, inside the cafeteria, all the way to the stadium, and then even over at the John Glenn cafeteria and at the South Campus cafeteria. We have staff in there to supervise and just ensure that kids are doing their part. Like anything, kids will be kids, and that's why I first talked about the importance of students practicing a lot of self-discipline in this and being responsible and also, leading others to do that and being good models for each other. But that's the primary way. During every passing period, our teachers are in the hallways out at the entire time. And plus those same administrators and safety monitors are out. They all have designated spots outside and inside the building and in hallways, back of the school, front of the school, everywhere. We try to cover all fronts as best we can. And encourage that, making sure that we're following all the risk mitigation protocols. And our teachers have been amazing at helping to support that. So it's really neat to see all of them out in the hallways and just encouraging kids. And I think the biggest thing is they light up because they see our kids on campus and they miss them too. And they get excited when they show up and they're here and in their classrooms.
Nicole has a follow-up on that. Since school ends at 3 and the bus doesn't pick them up till 4, Nicole said, when will the buses pick up students from school when they are released instead of almost an hour later? That's why I don't send my child. I know that we've covered this in the past, but Principal McKay, if you can answer that question.
Yes, ma'am. Well, in accordance with TEA, our instructional day still doesn't end until 4:20. So that's designed to be asynchronous time where kids can do their work. So we provide them safe zones where they can sit and stay engaged and do any work that they need to work on their projects. We also allowing our students to go to tutoring and go to their teachers' classrooms. In fact, our teachers are begging them to come to their class and they can sit in their classroom and do their work. And even if it's just a place that they feel comfortable, and let's say they've got a good relationship with their science teacher and their science teacher is allowing them to sit in their room. But we also have many clubs and organizations. We have CTE groups that are doing a lot of their hands-on learning experiences, getting some of their practicum experience in that they need to. Kids working on projects. We have some kids that they begin their practices or their rehearsals, like theater arts and debate. We're getting ready to start our esports league, and so those groups are getting ready to meet and get going because we're going to get ready to start competing across the state with esports. So that club's already got about 60 kids that are going to be starting to find a way to engage with each other. So that's the primary reason why is learning still hasn't stopped. We're trying to create those environments to where, and then for our juniors and seniors, and in fact, all of our students during those asynchronous times, we bringing in guest speakers from, let's say, Texas A&M or UT. I think today we had A&M Corpus Christi on campus. Well, they were live virtual and presented that to our juniors and seniors today. So we do some things on financial literacy. We do our guidance lessons with our counselors. I know, like I said, many of our clubs and organizations are also choosing to meet at those times as well. So parents do have the option to pick their child up when the instruction ends, whether that's at 2:10 or 2:55. But those who need to ride the bus are going to stay until 4:20, which many parents and I've had some conversations recently that let them stay. Please let them stay. Let them go to tutoring for their math, science, English, social studies, or their elective courses and pick them up at 4:20. They can go to their teachers' classrooms and do their work, and their teachers are welcoming them and wanting them to be there. So that's a great question. Our instructional day still doesn't end until 4:20.
Right. Yeah, that is the reason, and of course with, the synchronous and asynchronous learning going on, you have to build in time for that as well. So technically speaking, the instructional day goes on until 4:20, correct? And so that's the reason why, although, certainly some kids can take advantage of the fact that they, are getting out of that last class early, whether it's to go home or whether it's to stay on campus and participate in clubs or tutoring. I do know this, going back, into time, if we were to jump into like a DeLorean and jump back into the 1990, I don't want to say what year, but in the 90s, and if they said, hey, Brandon, we can, instead of you going home and working on homework until late at night, we're going to give you this jump start at 2 something in the afternoon. I would take advantage of that, and then go home and play video games, or like Mr. Toscano said, do some push-ups or something like that. So there's a definite pro to that. Hugely pro if you think about it. That I wish that, like I said, when I went to school back in the 90s, that was available. Instead, I, go all day, take the bus, get home, probably close to 4:45, 5 o'clock, somewhere around that range. And then, get a snack or, decompress for a little bit. But, I'm doing homework until like 8 o'clock at night, so
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity, I think, to really, use that time beneficially, other than just sitting around. And that's what the time is built for.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I've caught my own daughter, doing her schoolwork when she's sitting outside my office when I've come back over, just trying to get caught up during that time. So I just, it's like you said, an amazing opportunity that normally is not built into the day, but because of the current environment we're in and the amount of planning and preparation that our teachers have to do for instruction, it does a lot and helps to cover a lot of fronts.
Absolutely. So we have two more questions, and then I kind of want to move on to the other topics. But I'm going to bring in Kat, and I'm going to bring on Jalen for these two questions as well. And that's the part of this idea of Facebook Live and YouTube Live is being completely transparent. We answer some tough questions, and Principal McKay, I know that you talked about the cases that you are having at the school, and how many of them are there in terms of a small percentage. Veronica stated that the majority of cases are in high school, and that she saw students in groups in morning drop-off with their masks down. Is there anything that you can offer to Veronica?
Yeah, absolutely. And once we become aware of that, we work with those various student groups and have conversations with their leadership about the importance of being diligent in the response and making sure that we're providing appropriate supervision from the time that they arrive on campus until the time that they leave. So I know when we do become aware of that, we've made the appropriate adjustments. Again, feedback is a gift. And so we don't know until somebody makes us aware. And once we do become aware, we do take as quick and swift as a response as we can about making sure that we do everything we can to ensure that when students get here, that they're following the risk mitigation protocols. And again, like I said, kids are kids, and it's unfortunate that we're still working and trying to get access to the frontal lobes, but we know that that's going to take many more years until they're in their 20s. So that, that being said, we're doing everything we can to put those gentle reminders in and having those adults. So that's a great question. And we hold those leaders responsible, making sure that they're continuing to coach up and lead up and the students that they're responsible for in the mornings.
And then Tina followed that up. She says she has watched admin out in the halls at lunch, et cetera, encouraging the students to social distance, remind them about their masks, et cetera. Great job. And yeah, I concur. Obviously there's going to be some kids that you're going to have to remind over and over, but just walking around on campus, they're doing a fantastic job. John Holt brought up, was there an incident where there were 19 positive tests reported when it was actually 3? If so, what was the reason for that, false positives? Kat, I'm sure we're looking at you.
I can't tell. So sorry. Okay, so the incident that happened where there were 19 positive tests reported is we actually had a system error to where our system between the lab and the way that students and faculty get results, those two systems were not talking at one time. And so the resulting was pre-sent out. And so it was the wrong result. So it was not false positives. It was just a glitch in the system where it was just a preamp to communicate 19 positives. I'm not sure why 19 was chosen, but we do apologize for that miscommunication. That error has been corrected specifically in the software that we are using to where it will not occur again. And so it was just a glitch in the system pushing out preamp results when it was really not resulted completely yet.
All right. And another question for you all. Are the classrooms still required to maintain a certain distance among the students or at partitions? How many students are in a classroom at a given time? And can you explain how the students are distanced at lunchtime?
Again, those are great questions. So yes, our teachers are still required to arrange their classroom setting to appropriately distance our students a minimum of 6 feet apart. I can't give you a rough number. I can give you I'd say anywhere from about 15 to 17 students is the max. The challenge that we have in our building, because it is so large, is that not every instructional space is the same. So I can't say that it's a hard number of 14, and the reason why is because our rooms are not crafted the same way. So some rooms may be able to actually hold more students, and some students might not be able to hold as many. But also know that if it is a smaller classroom, typically those instructional environments already have smaller number of students. So even if it's 50%, in those instructional spaces. Even though the classroom is smaller, it still has plenty of adequate space for students to be able to spread out in there. And then, of course, if we have a classroom that is exceeding what we consider to be a safe level, then what we are doing is we're working with those teachers on relocation, figuring alternative ways to adjust the instruction from spreading kids out into some different spaces in order to be able to do that. So again, I can't give you a hard number because every instructional space is slightly different, and our teachers are monitoring it like crazy, and they're immediately coming to administration if they're getting to the point where they feel like there's a threshold. And then we put our heads together and we come up with another idea, and if it may mean to relocate them to a different space, then we do that as well. And the second thing to talk about is lunch and breakfast. What we do at meal times is, because we know that their masks are off, as they are required to only sit 2 to a table. They have to sit across from each other at the table. And if you see where we got these square octagonal tables in the cafeteria and even outside, so when kids are sitting and they're eating, they have to sit only 2 to a table. And then we also have large concreted areas where a lot of the kids, because we are in South Texas, like today, it was absolutely gorgeous outside. Many of the kids are sitting in those concreted areas, and we have red tape that tells them where they're supposed to be sitting if they're eating. And even in our amphitheater area that's in our primary eating space outside, there's red tape every other row so kids know, and it's well spaced out. In fact, those are probably more than 6 feet apart. So that's how we space them out. We've done everything through the guise of trying to make sure that there's a minimum of 6 feet, if not closer to 10 feet, where possible, when we know that they're going to be eating. But again, as soon as they're done eating, there's somebody there to tell them, make sure you mask up. And when they're going to throw their trash away, and then beyond that, if they're not putting food or drink in their mouth, they're required to have their mask up. And we're just constantly giving them those reminders. And plus, there's hand sanitizers all over the campus. In the cafeteria, there's one at every single table. And then in the open spaces, they're even in between all of those tables. So we encourage them to continue to hand sanitize before, during, and even after they get done eating as well. So great questions.
2 follow-up things to that. The first is that KB in Youth Force San Antonio came out to the school and did a wonderful story about the distancing at lunch that East Central High School has. And I believe, Adrian, if you go back out onto our Facebook, it was a little bit ago, but I think on our Facebook page, we did post the story. You can always Google search it as well. But KBB and News 4 did do a fantastic story on our efforts and during the lunch period. But you know, obviously, when the weather gets cold, is that going to impact any of the seating at lunch?
Yes, yeah, actually, we have a contingency. We have several contingency plans, and we've had to enact them already on a couple of occasions when we've had some inclement weather. So we open up the game gym, and the game gym is able to sit an additional. And of course, this is everybody sitting 6 feet apart, skipping every other row. Is able to sit an additional 78 kids. And then we also have in the game gym foyer those same octagonal tables that we set up, and we were able to fit about 40 students in that spot. And then we have a secondary plan ready to roll that if we need to use the Patterson rehearsal room as well as gym 2, we've got tables lined up, mobilized with desks with tape already on them, which the kids know the tape indicates where you sit. Ready to roll, and we're ready to make an adjustment. We've worked really tightly with the athletic department that if we've got to make adjustments in their athletic periods, they're willing to flex because they know that we're limited on that space. So, you know, of course, kids have the availability to eat at the South Campus cafeteria. Kids have the availability to eat at the John Glenn cafeteria. Those roughly each hold about 70 more students, as well as now when you add in the gym spaces, we feel like we've created ample areas for kids to be able to eat when it's cold or when we have inclement weather. That's a great question, but we had considered that. Well, you know, what the heck do we do when it gets nasty outside? We've already had a couple of days like that, and the kids just pivoted. We make many announcements and tell them, look, your spaces you can go sit. We have microphones in the cafeteria or outside when they're picking them their food. Just tell them you can head to the game gym, go to the game gym, and they start to head that way, and they can still sit and sit with their friends and distantly apart, obviously, and can eat and kind of be a normal kid at that time for a little bit.
Does that give them a longer lunchtime? or is the lunchtime still the same?
Yeah, no, the lunchtime is still 30 minutes. That's in there. Now, one of the things we have done that actually adds a little bit of extra time to the lunch is we have a 10-minute passing. So it's really, if you're transitioning to lunch, you really have more of a 40-minute passing, 40-minute lunchtime if you walk quick, if you get there quick. But there's not been one child that hasn't been able to receive their food and have plenty of time to sit and eat. And our child nutrition department's been amazing. The way they're doing it right now is so fast and so efficient. Everything is prepackaged. They literally just walk in, pick up the food that they want, go to the line, tell the child nutrition clerk what their ID number is, and they leave right away. And then they go to their spaces to go sit. And it is really, really quick. We have outside lines and we have inside lines, and they all are serving the exact same meal options. So kids, no matter, they don't just have to go inside to get, let's say, the nuggets or the orange chicken that the kids really like. They can get it outside too.
All right, for these next two questions, I'll bring back Jalen and Kat, and then I'm going to do these last two questions on as it relates to COVID. We have like 4 other topics to get through, but we could come back at the end of the night. This is a science question for you, Kat, and I what are the number of cycles used on the PCR test being used?
Oh gosh, I'm put on the spot right now. Let me find that out, and then I will post it in the chat for you, Brandon, if that works.
That works. That works for us. Sure. And then on the Metro Health website, we are in the yellow zone, which states that schools should not exceed 25% occupancy as a district following these guidelines.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So where I can be transparent, we are not anywhere near that. And when we really think about occupancy, the occupancy of East Central High School is close to 7,000. And I don't know if people realize that. And that's the total maximum occupancy. So it's not our total student population. And of course, our student population is 3182. But when you couple in every single instructional space that we have, and you get the capacity reports from the fire marshal, we are nowhere near even the 25% threshold. And as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, we've been averaging around 800 to 1,000 students. So, add that into to really we're near 7,000 student capacity. We're sitting okay right now as far as the numbers go. And I think that's a great, and we are following the guidelines and know that the district is every day checking in with Metro Health. I know that they're continuously connected. The area superintendents and the regional leadership groups are constantly in conversation and working with them, with Metro Health, and trying to find out what's the best option. We are mobilized if we have to go back into emergencies, if we have to go back into an emergency schedule, if the numbers continue to spike. But, right now, I can confidently say that we have been well within that threshold. So that's a great question. And thank you for sharing that. I think it's how it's worded. And when we talk about maximum occupancy, we're not even close to maximum occupancy, even if we had all of our students here.
I do want to move on to, we have 4 other really important topics for our high school kids. So I definitely want to come back. And then the answer, Kat gave us a message here, 37 cycles in 66 minutes. So hopefully that answers the question from Mr. Holt. But let's move on to the course selection process. Any updates on the course selection process?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon, and parents. I want to, obviously, first I just want to let you know, everybody has a different level of comfort in allowing their children to come back to school. So by no means, I want to make sure that you understand that we completely respect everybody's position on how they would like to have their student learn. I'm just advocating for us to have our kids back for face-to-face as much as possible. But when it comes to course selection process, obviously in a normal year, I'm kind of getting tired of saying that, but in a normal year, our counselors would go in in each teacher's classroom, and they would present the course selection guide. They would present the process. They would give them their course selection sheets. They would tell them to take it home, review it with your parents, go through, check the courses that you want, sign the bottom, bring it back to your teacher in a couple of days, and we collect those, and then they go back and they would enter all their things into the computer. The problem is now, knowing that over 50% of our student population right now is still remote learning. That's created some challenges for us. So I wanted to make the parents aware. We are still going to be pushing our counselors in the moment we come back from the Christmas holidays. We're going to be pushing our counselors into those classrooms. They're going to be doing those course selection presentations. So our students who are learning synchronistically or asynchronistically will still get a chance to see the presentation in action live, but our kids that are here face-to-face will be getting it from their counselors directly, and be able to ask any questions that they have, that they're there. But we also wanted to allow parents and the students the opportunity to start thinking about what those classes would be, because we know it starts right away when we come back from the break. So what we're doing just before the break, we are going to be sending a mail out to every student at East Central High School. And what they're going to be getting are several things, but one of the things you'll be getting is you will be getting your child's course selection documentation, as well as, and I do apologize, I wrote some notes on mine. I'm a note taker, but they'll be receiving this flyer. Thank you, Brandon, for putting that up. And on that flyer, there's a couple of QR codes. And the top QR code actually is the exact presentation that the students will be getting in class, that they'll be able to see, or even if they're learning asynchronistically or they're watching the video. And so they'll get to see everything, the primary topics, the high level overview that the counselors give to our students. And then the bottom QR code will actually allow our remote learners to go in, and they can go in and type in, using the website that's provided, their information, and they can actually go in and select their courses online and submit it electronically. Or if they so choose, they can now take this document and go the old school way, put the check boxes on it, have everybody sign at the bottom that they've acknowledged that these are the courses that they're wanting to have for next year. And we're putting a self-addressed envelope in all of the mail that's going out. So all you have to do is take this, fold it up, put it back in the envelope, put a stamp on it, mail it to us, and our counselors will get it right away. We'll start to archive that. Now, please know, we're really not starting this process until after the break that's coming up, but I felt like it was the right time right now to make you aware that we are already starting the course selection process, starting with our 11th graders, working all the way to our incoming freshmen, our rising freshmen at our 2 junior highs will be getting the same information. So I just wanted to make you aware that these are all the various ways that we are trying to get the information out to you, as well as your teachers will be providing all of this on your child's Google Classroom. And this will also all be on the counselor's website. So you can go to the counselor's website, archive any of that. Feel free to reach out to our counselors anytime you have questions about it. Know that the presentations are coming right after the break. And we're going to be sending out this information so you can receive it, start to look into it. Actually, the course selection guide is on our website already on the counselor's webpage, so you can start looking at potential courses for next year that are in alignment with your child's program of study and for their endorsement. So I just wanted to get out on the front end of that, because we know that that's a laborious process. It does take a lot of time. It's very much like selecting courses for your college classes. So we just got to get out in front of it now, because it takes a long time to organize a master schedule for our students for the following year and build their scheduling out as best that we can. So knowing that we have kids that are remote, knowing that we have kids that are face-to-face, we're going to provide every single platform. And our counselors are going to be doing a Facebook and YouTube Live in January to go over more information and details regarding this course selection process. So that's to be coming forward as well.
And do you want to show, this presentation, or at least a part, talk about what they're going to be seeing as far as this course registration presentation and what it is? Yeah,
and again, it's designed to be a high-level overview. When you get the document over the break and you scan the QR code, you'll have access to this presentation. And this essentially reminds you of the alpha split per counselor. So if you have questions, you can go into it. They'll talk about graduation requirements. If you notice, there's a link on there for the course selection guide that'll take them to it. It'll tell you about what you need for the number of credits for each sub area, whether it's the core areas. So it talks about you've got to have English 1, 2, or 3, and then 4 or an advanced English course. They'll get into the math, science, English, and social studies that are required for graduation. And then they'll talk about electives and what do the electives mean. See, there you go, talking about fine arts, physical education, foreign language, or languages other than English is really what we call it. And then we get into the endorsement plans for STEM, business, and industry. So you can look at the programs of study, know that each child has a plan, and the counselor has that plan. And so they're doing their best to try to get a hold and touch every single student and to talk about that plan before this course selection process comes out. Although we know we've had some challenges with remote learning and face-to-face and trying to get it all together. But I think it's a very comprehensive process. I think our counselors do an amazing job of trying to navigate their students through all of that.
All right. So, I mean, that's always exciting. I love course selection, always an exciting time.
Absolutely.
Mid-year ThoughtExchange, typically we've, in the past, it's been a mid-year survey sent out, but this year it's utilizing a tool called ThoughtExchange. And so tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, and we're excited to do it. We've already launched it with our staff. The thing that we like about ThoughtExchange is we still ask several of the questions regarding your child with kind of the multiple choice format. I strongly agree, I agree, I'm neutral, or I disagree, because we want to, of course, be able to calibrate across platforms, whether you're a parent, a student, or a teacher. But we're launching it, and it'll be going out tomorrow, our ThoughtExchange for our parents. And we really ask that you take a few minutes and go through and just leave us a thought. What's working well? What's not? What adjustments do we need to make? And the thing I like about ThoughtExchange is it's like Amazon reviews. Now you can read what other thoughts people leave, and you can star them. So if you highly connect with a parent's thought, you can 5-star it. If you don't connect with that at all, you can 1-star it. And what that allows for us as a leadership team, because we feel like feedback is a gift, is it allows us to get a high level view of what are the community perceptions, what are we doing really, really well that a lot of people are agreeing to that we want to continue to do, or how can we continue to augment and enhance those things that we are doing, and what feedback can we receive, areas that we got to grow, and what adjustments do we need to make to improve. And let's come up with a plan. And this is ones that a lot of people resonated with. So we've got to go back and say, how can we get better in these areas? And so we really appreciate, I know we did a ThoughtExchange in the first quarter. This is our second quarter ThoughtExchange, or a mid-year ThoughtExchange. And we received really great information from our parents, from our staff, and from our students who are part of it. We have a guiding coalition made up of students and parents and community members and staff that review it and provide some feedback to the leadership team, and then allow us to sit around and calibrate on areas that we can grow or areas that we want to enhance. So I just encourage, and when you get that, I know we seem to be inundated with a lot of parent links, but when you get this email, but this will also be on our website, just take a few minutes and leave us a thought, rate up to 10 thoughts if you can, and then go back to it occasionally. It'll be open for a week, and go back and rate other thoughts as thoughts continue to appear. And we just really appreciate your feedback, and we use that as an opportunity to learn and to build stakeholder ownership. That we want our families and parents to know that that you have a voice, and your voice matters, and we want to hear your voice, and we want to be able to take those things and where we can apply it to improve East Central High School and improve what we do for students.
We do want to point out again that the ThoughtExchange is anonymous. You don't need to put your name to it. It's anonymous, so you're feel free to give as honest of a thought as possible, because we welcome the gift of feedback here. And so, don't worry about, is it going to be tracked back to me or anything like that? It will not. And of course, as much as we want your thought, we want you to rate the thoughts of other individuals as well. So we get a nice comprehensive view of how everyone is feeling. It's a great tool for those that haven't used it yet, and like you said, it'll come out tomorrow, and they can take part of that. EOC retesting information. What's going on there?
Yeah, so TEA has reinstated. Right now, we do have the EOC STAR retesting. So unfortunately, we do have about 500 students who still need to retake one or more assessment in order to meet graduation requirements per the state of Texas. And so I know that counselors have been reaching out to parents and students and reminding them or letting them know that they we're asking them to come and take the retest. And what we're doing is, you could see that on December 8th, English 1 and biology, the 9th is US history and algebra, the 10th is English 2 and bio, and the 11th is any makeup testing. And then the additional week after that will be online testing only. And that'll be makeup only for history, biology, and algebra. The biggest thing is we want to make sure, and the reason why I thought it'd be important to talk about is if your child's remote and your child's counselor's reached out to you about coming up and having to take one or more of these retests. I mean, that means you've attempted this test, you had been unsuccessful in the previous attempts, you didn't qualify for any of the waivers from last year's testing, so the state's still saying you have to have it. If you're a remote learner, please know that we are working really hard to build an environment to where your student and you feel safe to allow them to come up and test. We're going to be using large gym spaces. We're talking more around 12 to 15, almost 20 feet of social distancing or physical distancing spaces between desks for testers. Of course, there'll be administrators and teachers in there the entire time, making sure that everybody follows the risk mitigation guidelines. That will be served a lunch as well during that testing window while they're here. So again, I just encourage if your child's been on remote or if they're here face-to-face, that they come on those days, that they are to come in and do their very best, make sure they get a good night's rest, make sure they eat a good breakfast, come in and test. And of course, when their testing is over, like any other student, their parent can come and pick them up and they can leave and go home right away. Or if the school transportation is the only option for them to be able to get home, know that if they're a remote learner, we're creating safe zones for them to sit and do any of their other schoolwork after that while they're waiting for the bus away from the other students. So we're trying to think about every plan and every way that we can consider everybody's perspective so we can have more of our students engaged that need to come through and do the retest.
All right. And then the final topic for tonight, update on the school day SAT. Yeah,
and I'm really excited about this. So this was something we were going to do last year, but unfortunately our current circumstances hit us and we weren't able to do it. But we are offering SAT for our junior class free. It's not going to cost them anything, and we are going to do that during the school day. So our date right now is March 3rd. And we are going to utilize every spot on our campus. We're going to be very deliberate and intentional about how we do that so we can maintain all the social distancing guidelines. So I just wanted to put it on our parents' radar early that if your child's a junior, we are going to be providing them the SAT test on March 3rd. It's a Wednesday, starting in the morning. We're talking right now with College Board. We believe the exam, we have to start it by 8:30 in the morning. So it'll start a little bit earlier. They'll have to be in their testing locations. We're considering some alternatives for what our other students are doing so we can make sure that our remote learners have enough space. So we're working through some things with administrative council on that, and we'll have some plans most in place. But what an amazing opportunity to get to take the SAT here during the week, during the normal school day. And we just want to make sure that our remote learners, as well as our face-to-face learners, know that we're doing that, as well as we have about a little over 150 seniors that also will qualify because they fit into this rare category where they took algebra as 8th graders, and to meet graduation requirements, they have to take the SAT or ACT before graduation. So their counselors will also be reaching out to those specific seniors. So, right now, the guidelines, right now that the state is giving us is, yes, it has to be for juniors and seniors for right now. That's why we do PSAT for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors also for free. We did that earlier in the year, so hopefully your child took advantage of that free option. But just I want to be clear that we're doing everything we can to make sure that our kids have opportunities, and so this is just one step that we want to continue to provide for kids and families. I know that when my son took SAT, it was not cheap, and he had to do it, unfortunately, multiple times. This at least gives our students an opportunity to take it free of charge, and we want them to do their best, because obviously they know that scholarships can be on the line. College admissions to many universities require certain threshold scores. So we would just want our kids to do their very best, take advantage of that opportunity. Know that if you're a remote learner, we are going to work really hard to make sure that you feel safe coming on campus that day to take it. And we're going to, it's going to be it's some plans that we're playing. I'm not comfortable talking about it yet, but just to make sure that the campus is pretty much belonging to our juniors and those small selected set of seniors to come on campus that day to test.
All right. So now is question and answer time. So, include for any of the topics that we covered tonight. Let's see. I want to get rid of that banner there. So, going back to the school day SATs. Kristen asked, "Are there any PSATs for sophomores?"
Yeah, Kristen, that's a great question. We did the PSATs in the fall. We even did it for our remote learners. We did it on a Saturday. We had a Saturday session for our remote learners to come up and do that. So unfortunately, that window has come and gone at this point, but we are going to be doing it again next year. We do it freshmen through the junior class, and of course, students were required to register and sign up for it. That was all they had to do. They didn't have to pay, but they just had to register and sign up for it. And we do it through their junior class, because in their junior year, if they take the PSAT, then they qualify for the National Merit Scholarship plan. So we've had several National Merit Scholars on our campus, and it's been because they're doing really well on that junior assessment. So that's part of the reason why we offer that to our juniors that take that as well. So I encourage your sophomore to have their eyes and ears open, and we'll make sure that we continue to press it out there and put as much information for our community to know that we're giving those tests on those days. We know that in our current circumstances, it may not have reached all avenues, but normally when we're in a traditional year, there are multiple announcements and signs all around campus, and teachers are telling them in classes. And so we did our best to try to market it as we could. And we still had, I think it was over 600 students that took the PSAT this last time. So we'll continue to market. That's a great question.
Yeah, she did follow it up by saying she didn't know about PSATs earlier in the year, but it is like you just said. It's you're having to do different tactics that normally you don't do when everybody's sitting in one classroom. Eugene Marquez says, if my boys are falling behind in their assignments and have a failing grade, what are they supposed to do so that they can still pass to the next grade, especially when it's been hard on them? Eugene mentioned that they've lost family members this year, so the boys have been distressed.
Yeah, and we're definitely sorry about the loss, and our hearts and thoughts and prayers are going out to not only your family, but any of our other families that have lost loved ones during this time, and we understand that it's a very complex situation. So the guidance that I've been given many parents that I've had a conversation with is, first, really have them engage and yourself engage with their teachers and reach out and make a plan. I spent a good 45 minutes on the phone yesterday with some parents about a student, and we came up with a strong tutoring plan. And even though the student's on remote, he's going to be coming up in the afternoon during the asynchronous time. And I got with all of his teachers today, went around the campus and visited with them. And we have a daily schedule for this student to come on campus in the afternoons to get some specific tutoring. And so I know that our teachers have virtual tutoring hours in the afternoons. I know that they're begging and pleading with their students to engage. Obviously when they have assessments coming up, to do their very best to take the assessment and do their very best on that assessment, because that's really the summation of all of their learning, and teachers then can use that to make the most informed decision about where each child is in relation to their learning, and really just continuing to partner with them in that process, as well as don't hesitate to reach out to your child's counselor, and they're willing to be an additional advocate and voice, and even our administrative team, we're willing to step in the gap and help to fill where we can. And I just encourage your boys to keep pressing on. I'm going to reveal something. I've been working on a video that we're going to send out to the students where, I talk about two stories, and one story is about a gentleman that climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and he had no arms and no legs, and he was able to climb one of the toughest climbs in the world. And they asked him, how did he do it? And he said, all I did was just focus on the next 3 feet. So I encourage your boys just to focus on the next 3 feet, focus on this assignment, do their very best now, make sure they get it turned in, and then let's get on to the next one. And then the other story, I talk about a female swimmer back in the 1950s who swam from the coast of Catalina to Los Angeles, and she swam for over 15 hours, and the fog came in and she couldn't see the shoreline anymore, and she got tired, and because she couldn't see the end, she decided to get out of the boat, and they kept encouraging her, don't get out, keep swimming, it's there, you just can't see it. And so she swam for another hour, got tired, got out, got in the boat. About 15 minutes later, the fog lifted, and she had less than a half a mile to go if she would have just kept moving forward. So I think that the message to our students, the message to everybody is just relentless forward progress. Martin Luther King had a quote, and just talked about, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, just keep moving forward. And I think that's what my encouragement for them is, just keep pressing. Reach out to the teachers, reach out to the counselors. We're here. We want to come up with a plan to help your boys, and I'll be happy to help. So feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to sit down and get with his teachers and see what we can do to come up with a plan to help support your boys out.
All right. So Eugene, definitely send over an email, shane.mckay@ecisd.net. And, that's what we're here for. We're here for the kids. So definitely can get you help there. There was a couple of questions about, I don't know how much we could talk about next year yet, but are we, considering the same bell schedule next year? Are they still going to get the options of face-to-face, or remote? I know that, with COVID, it's kind of day by day, week by week, so in some cases, hour by hour. Do we have any sort of forecast?
I do believe that things will look different. I can't necessarily say if we'll have the same exact bell schedule. I cannot agree with you more. I believe that the opportunities in the morning and the afternoon for students to receive additional help, or to actually get not just help, but to receive opportunities to enhance and augment their learning. So to get extensions in their learning. So for our students who pick things up really quickly, what an amazing way for you now to advance your learning in that concept, where we have these constraints of times of only 52-minute blocks. So, that's a great question. You never waste a crisis. And in this crisis, it has shown us that there are many, many things that we can look at doing differently as a traditional school system. And so I know that every possibility is still on the table for what schedules will look like next year. And I couldn't agree with you more, because I know it benefits many. It benefits our students. It benefits our teachers. And so I just think there's a lot of merit to it. And I couldn't agree more with you, Ms. Castleman.
All right, we'll do a couple more questions. I know we've already hit over an hour. Becky asked, will there be an option for us to choose again to send our kids face-to-face? I think we kind of already touched on that with the forecast. But if, let's say, February rolls around and, I feel better, whatever happens with the vaccine and things of that nature. But let's say February comes around, I'm more comfortable now. I want to send my kids back to school. What's the process for that?
Yeah, so every 6 weeks we are still sending out the survey, which is asking if what their learning preference is. But we know that each case is individual, and we've had some parents reach out to our academic deans, Miss Ferguson and Miss Barnett Koshin, and have advocated for allowing their kids to come back. And to be honest with you, when we went and visited those 146 students on Monday, when we did those home visits and went around it was begging them, even though you're remote, we really want you to come back face to face, because we know it's the best way for us to overcome some learning gaps right now. So, in all else, feel free to shoot an email or to call up to the school and speak with the academic deans. And what we've been notifying parents is, because we definitely want to let the teachers know, because if they need to make adjustments in their seating structure, give us to the following Monday. And even we've created some additional, hybrid plans for students. Of course, every student is either in option 1 or option 2, or what we're calling the black and gold groups. And that's in case we do have to pare down due to Metro Health or the governor restricting us on the number of students that we can have on campus. But obviously reach out to us, and we're willing to pivot where we need to try to help every student. And I'll just say, Ms. Renee, one of the things that we've noticed is, several weeks ago, we did have several more families say that, hey, we want our kids to come back face to face, but they haven't shown. And so we're just encouraging, if that's the direction you want to go, man, we want to have them here, and we'd love to see them. So feel free to reach out to your child's counselor or academic deans, but as well as be on the lookout for that survey that'll come back out to our parents about if you're wishing to change your learning preference, so we can continue to work on the numbers and making sure that we have adequate amount of numbers for each lunch period, for each class period, to the best that we can, and to navigate and move some of those Tetris pieces around.
We know that the teachers are stretched really thin right now with, having to balance out everything. Sherry stated that it's very hard to keep up with my remote-only students' grades when teachers aren't putting grades in at a reasonable time. Is there anything that you can offer to Sherry?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And what my encouragement is just to reach out to those teachers if you have specific concerns. I know that many conversations that I've had with teachers have been centered around that they're just waiting for evidence. They're waiting to get some evidence from the students so they can input them, and know that we're constantly monitoring grade books and having conversations with teachers regarding the timeliness. And but I know that the other side of the struggle that we've seen is getting work in a timely manner. So again, I know our teachers are still collecting work. I know they're still grading work, and I'll say, as you had mentioned, Brandon, too, with many of the constraints, with the amount of time that it takes to plan not only face-to-face instruction now, but also remote instruction, but then also to do all the other things that COVID is now requiring our teachers to do. And grading is one of those pieces that still hasn't gone away, that they need to continue to do. So, if you have any direct concerns, feel free to reach out to me again in an email, and I'll be happy to follow up with those teachers, or get with their administrator to follow up with those teachers, so we can make sure that we're able to support where best. But feel free to email them and just ask how your child's doing, and what supports can we all help, and what kind of information can we provide.
All right. So again, Sherry, if you still need assistance, you can email the school, and you can even email Shane McKay himself, shane.mckay at ecisd.net, and we will help you all out. So we have hit over an hour. I want to respect y'all's time. I want to bring on Jalen and Kat one more time, just to close out this broadcast here. But again, I want to thank each of y'all for your time, and just any sort of final comments y'all want to leave as we end this broadcast.
I'll just say thank you guys again for having Community Labs be a partner with you all. I just want to emphasize, stay safe out there. Be safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart. The surge is rising, so we just want to make sure everyone in the community is staying safe. And so Principal McKay and Jalen, they have my contact. If you guys ever need anything, please let me know.
Yes, and you can actually find community labs information, all sorts of great information about community labs at www.ecisd.net/health. There will be a tab that says about community labs, and then you can get more information about them. Miss Hart, you're quiet, but I know you got something to.
No. I just want to say thank you to Community Labs because they have been phenomenal in working with us and helping us through the kinks and you know, I think the testing has gone very smoothly. They've had some great leadership for us on, you know, how things worked well with other districts, and so we've utilized those ideas and it's worked out well. And so we look forward to getting some more of those consents in from parents and students so that we can get everybody, you know, into the testing routine and keep everybody safe at school. And Kat, I appreciate your comments. I agree. Keep your mask on, social distance, you know, keep up with your hand hygiene. We'll get through this. We will. So everybody just hang in there.
Thank you, Miss Hart. Principal McKay, any final words?
Well, I want to take this opportunity in front of our community to thank Miss Hart, and I know she's been the unsung hero in this whole thing since it started. And you know, she's not just the nurse here at the high school. To understand, she's the head nurse for the entire district, and so she's really put in a lot of her off time weekends, even over the Thanksgiving break. I know she was working on building consent forms and dealing with situations that come up. And so she's seems to always be on call 24/7, 365. And I'm just in awe of what she does for kids in our school, in our district, in our community. I couldn't think of anybody that's more deserved of just praise. And so I'm so grateful, Ms. Hart, for all that you do to keep us safe, to keep our community safe, to keep our kids safe. And Kat, you've been an amazing resource, in your energy and the support that you've provided as we've started this journey, and we hope to continue even beyond this. I just want to encourage our families to trust this process. That please go onto our website, download that consent, sign it, give it to your kid, tell them to take it by the nurse. Now, here's the request. Again, have that consent form turned in by noon Friday. Bring it up if you have to yourself. Drop it off in by the attendance window. We'll take it because unfortunately, people have to input all this information one by one and build basically the ticket for each individual kid each time. So it takes a lot of time to do that, and we want to give our nurses time to be able to build those documents. So that the sooner you can get those to us, the better. And of course, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the campus, ask to speak with the campus nurse. Ms. Dietrich should be happy to help. But I can't thank enough. I can't thank our parents enough for trusting and sending their students to us, their most prized possession. Know that they're our most prized possession too, and we care about them. We love each and every one of them. We want them to be healthy. We want them to be safe. We wanted to help them to learn and to achieve their very best in life. And so, and lastly, not least, but Mr. Oliver, thank you. And I know we threw this together last minute, but you do such a great job with this, and you're on the cutting edge. Feel like we're in the forefront. We're the pioneers of doing this. So you're amazing. Thank you for all the things you do also to support the district and to help us to push the information that's out. So that's all I have. Thank you guys again. I hope everybody has a great 3 weeks before we hit the break, and hope everybody has a safe break. And most importantly, to reiterate what Kat and Jalen said, be as diligent in those risk mitigation protocols in your personal life. And as we've seen on our campus with our students and even our staff, the more diligent we can be in our personal lives, the healthier we can stay. And it's been the community spread incidences where we're not as disciplined. And I know that Thanksgiving looked different for many of us, to include my own family. Only had 4 of us at the dinner table, and that was my son, my daughter, my wife, and me. And that was kind of weird, but it was the best thing, and it was the safest thing for us to do. So as we get closer to Christmas time, let's continue to make those personal sacrifices and take care of our community and take care of our families.
All right. And again, I just want to remind everybody viewing that if you missed any of this, or you want to go back and rewatch it, you can. It's living 365 24/7 at the YouTube link that you took to get here, or on our Facebook at EC Proud. And again, I want to thank each of you for your time, and for everybody for watching tonight. And we'll see you very soon with the next Facebook Live.